Sure as shit. Okay, we're live on Things Are Not What They Seem. Gary's talking about Noah's Ark and the animals on Noah's Ark and what children are taught in school. And I was always taught that the animals were led two by two onto the ark. That Noah was sent out to round up these animals because the flood was coming. They were going to wash away the giants and all the Nephilim, and they were going to ruin the earth. I'm going to turn you down a little bit. They were going to ruin the earth. To say something, Gary, say testing one, two, three.
Testing one, two, three.
Okay, good. That's Gary Sweeney with us right there. I had to test this audio, but so they were gonna roam the earth, and round up all these animals two by two and put them on the ark. But Gary says that things aren't that isn't quite what the Bible says. So he has a version here. And go ahead, Gary. You pick it up from here and talk about what you told me. Go ahead, Gary Sweeney.
Okay, well, what you said, yes, Gary Sweeney. What you said is pretty much what everybody does read, and that's what they believe. Problem is, they really don't read it, and they listen to what preachers and other people say, or what they were learned as a kid. In part of the Bible, when you go into Genesis and chapter 6, and when you get down to verse 6, chapter 6, 19, it does say, you are to bring into the ark two of all living creatures, male and female, to keep them alive with you, two of every kind of bird, every kind of animal, and every kind of creature that moves along the ground will come to you and be kept alive. Remember that word kind for a second, and I'll explain how dinosaurs got on the ark according to the guy down in Kentucky at the Answers in Genesis. But then in the very next chapter, in 7, it says, Lord says to Noah, go into the ark in your family, because I have found you to be righteous in this generation. Take with you 7 pairs of every kind of clean animal, a male and its mate, and 1 pair of every kind of unclean animal, a male and its mate, and also 7 pairs of every kind of bird, male and female. So when people just go down to, you just took a male and female, and that would have been a lot of animals. Now to figure that out, if you're talking about all the clean or the wanted animals, and it's now 7 pairs, and 7 pairs of all the birds, that's a significant increase in the amount of animals. And the thing is, why do you only remember the one part, like you remember a male and female of everything, and not the 7 pairs? Because the real definition was 7 pairs. That's a lot. And the word kind, what Ken, I forget his name, Ken Knoll, I forget his name. He's the one that is running the Answers in Genesis, and especially the Ark encounter in Kentucky, where they have built a replica of the Ark. He says the word kind because from the word kind, after the Ark, these kind separated out into various different species. So they believe that the dinosaurs, all animals, were on the ark. And the way they get around having all the individual species is they say kind. So Ron, as a dog trainer, will tell you that all canine, domesticated canine animals go back to the wild, the wolves, the dingoes. These are the original canine species. So everything from a Chihuahua to a Great Dane and everything in between came from those original pairs, selective breeding. And so what this
Yeah,
guy
exactly.
said
They
was the
bred
word
each dog.
kind.
They bred dogs for specific tasks, right? They would say
Right.
bird dog would hunt and chase and point bird dogs. Some flush them out. Some bring them back to you and carry them in their mouth. So yeah, exactly. They would genetically set up. They set up their goals for what they wanted them to do, and they would genetically through breeding narrow it down to specific tasks. Exactly. But go ahead. So why would they
Right.
have? What, go ahead.
So what he said was that word kind is that, so to get the dinosaurs and all these other animals, you really didn't need to bring on as many. And he's trying to explain just 1 pair of each type. And so he was saying, look, it's you didn't need to take that many because you needed to get 1 of the kind. So you would have a bird like a robin kind or a jay kind, and therefore you would not just get a blue jay, you would get all the other jays and the orioles and stuff from 1 original type. Or with the dinosaurs, you wouldn't have all the Tyrannosaurus rexes and everything. You would have 1 velociraptor kind. And then after they got off the ark, they would then, through natural breeding, through selective breeding, through their own breeding, through God's intervention, they came up with all these other ones. So that was his way of trying to explain how you could put all these animals on the ark. And that was originally trying to explain when you were talking about one male and one female, when the Bible in chapter 7 clearly states that it is 7 pairs. And so what this is that something as simple as that. It is not what it seems. Our whole basis on this channel is to try to explain to people what you think, what you see in your mind's eye. Your perception is not what it is, and it's not just not what it is by accident. No, this stuff was designed, and it is a universal deception that is being used on people. Um, and like what Ron said, this is what many people, I'm sure very people that are listening or are eventually going to be listening to these, and what we're putting these out for is to basically be able to say, this is what we said at this particular time, and we're putting it on record. 30 years ago, we stood for many things that now have come to pass.
Well, we predicted talked about how NAFTA was obviously going to spread the wealth, that it was going to outsource jobs, it was going to be bad. Everybody knew it. I mean, we weren't the only ones that recognized this fact, but the government, no, it's going to be best. It was all about the New World Order. These people were pushing. We didn't realize at the time what they meant. We knew they meant that they wanted to have this centralized government. Nobody really realized at the time what they meant was take all of our wealth and give it to everyone in the planet who doesn't have as much wealth. Instead of trying to produce each country producing their own wealth and their own productivity, they actually wanted to let each dictator or oligarch in country maintain all of their thievery and corruption and not give it to the people, and wanted us as a country to finance all them and they took our wealth away, is I guess the way I would look at it, because they didn't build a system where each country could flourish. They built it so they wanted to steal our wealth and our jobs and give it to the rest of the world. That's what I see, and that's what I see when that it just kept getting progressively worse and progressively worse. So when we everybody that were conservatives knew it.
The basic thing is the mechanics of it. The mechanics of it is this simple. They lie. Things are not what they seem.
Well, what is the paradigm where they create a problem, people cry out for a solution, and then they zoom in for the solution. There's a, I forget what that's called.
Yeah,
problem.
There's the
problem.
There's the libertarians talk about it as the iron triangle. It's why politics work. You have the citizens who have a problem, who elect a politician, who then set up the bureaucracies to service the citizens. So it's this iron triangle of there's a problem. Usually if it's not the government's making, no tragedy or problem is ever left not taken advantage of. So there's a problem or an issue.
Hegelian dialect is what it's called. The Hegelian dialect. What is it? Hold on a second. It's called
but basically it's the thing is
there it is.
It's always a triangular thing.
Yeah, it's the Hegelian dialect. It says, hold on, threefold matter. The guy's name was Heinrich Morass something. 3 stages of development, a thesis. Angel, knock it off. And they talked about this yesterday. It's very simple if I can find it right here. My Rottweiler gets off my
basically what we're trying to say here is that these things of getting people to hide the truth behind them. If people talk about conspiracies or this or that, it's just basically the way things have been done forever. Take marijuana for 100 years. 75 years organized. The government and everybody else has told you that marijuana is bad for you. It has no medicinal value, on and on. And now we've gone from weed, reefer madness to weed everywhere. Martha Stewart is involved in it. It's just crazy that
they create a problem. They create a problem. They wait for the reaction, and then they zoom in for the solution. They keep doing this, just like 9/11. They do a terrorist attack,
even better.
Scream out for gun control, and then they scream in and they want to do gun legislation. It's just over and over again, man.
Let's stick with this. Let's stick with this one specifically. Marijuana's been illegal. They specifically say it has no medicinal value. Now they've turned around and said because the FDA has approved CBD as a drug for epilepsy, that it is a drug, and now CBD medicines or CBD additives cannot be used because you can't use a drug in food additives. So on one hand, they forever said that marijuana or any components in it are not medicinal. Now they turn around and say, yes, not only is it medicinal, but now you can't use it for anything because we're still in control. They're even in more control than they were before.
Well, that's
Marijuana, cannabis, hemp arrests are up 20%.
well. Why
Even
did
though
they?
states are legalizing it, even that it so it is not what it seems.
Why was it?
Marijuana arrests
Why
are
was
up.
it legalized illegal to begin with? They wanted it illegal because they wanted to get the Mexicans out of the
Well,
country. They had built
well,
the railroads.
there was many things. There was many things. There was the Chinese and Irish that built the railroads. The Mexicans were sharecroppers, just like they always had been, and it was multifaceted, like anything else. It's not. There's many people that get involved in it. I mean, just think about you're in your backyard, whether you're setting up a barbecue, a a cornhole thing, or whatever. You got your buddies. Everybody's going to have different ideas and different reasons why they're doing it. But the main reason, the number one reason that it was made illegal was that it was being used, as it had been for years, as fiber. There was a new machine out that in 1938, the Popular Mechanics came out and called it the first billion-dollar crop. It was a machine to be able to harvest the hemp and be able to use it for fiber and in the herds on the inside for paper manufacture and another thing. The problem with this is that DuPont and a couple other companies had worked on ways to make synthetic fiber out of oil, and it's much cheaper to go on land that you don't own and put a hole in the ground and pump out oil and then lie to the people that you got to say how much oil you actually took out than it is to grow hemp, no matter how cheap it is, or to cut down trees in the national forest and have the government build logging roads. So the main reason always is money. And of course, there was always also, again, in medicinal use. It had been used forever for various medicinal use. Harry Anslinger, when asked, when they were passing these laws in the early 1900s, and then the 1914 Harrison Act, which regulated on a federal level almost all narcotics, about marijuana, he completely poo-hawed it and said there was absolutely no problem. After alcohol prohibition, that was brought in with a constitutional amendment because of the federal government to ban any substance. It can regulate, but only regulate, and in the regulation, it is to make it fair and equitable, not in any way to ban or restrict. So they were used a tax act to make marijuana illegal after alcohol. So alcohol came in, prohibition, constitutional amendment,
Now, didn't it have
caused a lot
something
of
to do
problems,
with
set up organized crimes,
paper
and then they got
too?
rid of it by,
When they were able,
well, yeah,
they
all
were
that,
able
but
to make so much
wait,
pulp
yeah, you
fiber
can
with
make
the
four times as much.
harvesting, right?
Sure.
So, and they
Yeah,
owned all the
absolutely, four times as much.
newspapers, and so they thought, wow, we can control the market if we make hemp illegal. They'll have to use all of our trees to make paper. They won't be able to
Well,
grow it for hemp.
there again, the trees, there again, you got to remember
You know
the
what that
trees,
is?
just like
Think about
today,
this.
they're
Just
not
like
growing trees.
so, they what they did is they put legislation in place to protect their investments, just like they do now with the
Of course they did.
5G and oil and all
Of
this.
course they did.
Same shit.
Of
They
course,
find out a
of course, of
technology.
course. Nothing's
They
changed.
find out a technology, just like the upcoming industrial revolution. Hey, we got this technology coming in where we can mass harvest everything. This is what we got to do. We're in this business, so let's buy a whole bunch of fucking tractors and shit, this new technology, and then let's pay all of our buddies to pass legislation to get rid of all the hemp so everybody has to use our harvesting machines to harvest all this shit to make all the fiber and all the materials. That's how shit works, folks. And that's how way
Well, it wasn't
it's
even that. It
still
wasn't even
working.
that. It wasn't even that.
I'm
It
just
wasn't even
putting
that.
it's
You got to
simple,
think
yeah.
there
I
again.
mean,
You're close, but you're basically there. The trees, just like today, they didn't go back 500 years ago and plant trees. They have this old growth forest that they
right,
chop them
right,
down.
right,
And
right.
so
It's
they
there.
weren't.
They're
Like today,
using
they
the
do replant it.
resources,
They
right,
that was already there. So no matter
right.
how cheap or good that growing hemp is, it's still cheaper to cut down
What's already
trees,
there?
or like
That's
I said,
right. Yeah.
or just put a hole in the ground and pump out the oil.
Buy the
So, but
property
they
and
wanted
yeah,
to make sure, yeah, so
exploit
they
our
want to make sure that
resources.
there is no competition, because they knew it
Exactly.
on multiple levels. There again, there's multiple people
And they
that are
do
doing
that
this
with
to fight this stuff.
legislation. The threat of force and violence will be imposed on you if
Well, they came
you
in. Well, they
break
came
their
in.
laws.
Again, it's not. Again, it's all not what it seems, because nobody called it marijuana. It was cannabis,
Right.
or it was hemp. Nobody called it marijuana. And then there again, the way they got it was they were able to slander the Mexicans, and they did it in numerous ways, depending on what part of the country you're in. You got to realize that before. I mean, we talk about the United States as a whole country now, but not back then. I mean, even at the turn of the last century, it was still very regional. You know, you just came out of the Civil War that everybody thought of the states more than the country. So if you were in the South, in Mississippi and stuff like that, it was the black jazz musicians that were smoking marijuana. If it was in the West, it was the Mexicans. You know, the first drug laws that came into effect were in San Francisco in 1875 that banned smoking opium. Now, it was still perfectly legal to inject it or to swallow it in pills, but you couldn't smoke it. Well, the Chinese were the ones who smoked it, and the whites injected it or ate pills. So it was always based somewhere. Usually, like I said, the cocaine, also blacks, because cocaine make blacks want white women. Marijuana, basically on the Mexicans. The opiates were on the Chinese, and all this because whites historically came from Europe, where their intoxicant was alcohol. Um, the universal one that cut across everything was cigarettes, because cigarette addiction, you know, a cigarette addict, many people will tell you it's tougher to stop smoking cigarettes than it is to stop doing heroin. Um, so again, it's not what it seems. You know, these things were all lies based on all of it, including marijuana, on false pretenses of what was going on. So it's not what it seems.
And you
It
guys,
never
you're
has been.
raised, they raise you, you grow up in this thing, and you think, these things were, you don't know any different. I mean, you're raised in a situation where smoking's already illegal, where you don't see people going around in restaurants and sitting smoking freely like we did when we were growing up. When we were growing up, it was standard procedure, man, to just go in and people would have an ashtray on their table and they would smoke. It was just what people did. Nobody thought anything of it. There were no, don't do that in front of me. It just was the way it was. You go into a bar, a little kid, it was smoke everywhere. Drinking, smoking, it was a
and
way
and
of
then
life.
and then again, it was told to you that we're only going to do this one little thing.
Right, we're only going to
We
restrict
don't
it
want
so you don't smoke around all these kids
just
and
there.
stuff. We promise we won't make it
Don't
any
even do
worse.
that.
We'll just
No,
make
no,
you
no.
smoke
Didn't even
over in
do
a
that. Didn't even
corner,
do.
a different
No, 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 no.
spot.
Didn't even start. No,
How did
didn't
it
even
start?
start
I
with
don't know
that. Didn't
how it
even start with
started.
that. Started on airplanes.
Oh, that's right.
The
That's
number one
right.
spot
That's right.
was we're going
That's
to
right.
start smoking on airplanes because you're in a confined area. So let's just start it on airplanes, and then it started expanding. But at no point did they ever say that we were going to ban it everywhere. And now you've got banned. You're not allowed to smoke in outdoor stadiums. Ohio's looking at arresting you, as be able to pull you over. Uh, for smoking a cigarette. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, folks. There's other things besides. There are other stuff. We used to hand out this stuff called Damiana, which was a Mexican herb that were used as a cover when we first did the first marijuana harvest fests. Because if we were handing out legal stuff that you could roll up, there'd be no reason for cops to come in and try to bust people for rolling up real marijuana. So what happens if they pass this in Ohio
Oh,
saying,
come on.
is the law going to be written that any smokables are going to be is thing? Are they going to include vaping? How do we know that somebody's not drinking a very hot cup of coffee and what the officer sees is steam? Here again, folks, all this stuff was brought in is that it's only going to be used for a little thing. The seatbelt
It's only
laws
going to, yeah,
only
it
going to
will
be
never
used.
be a primary
Uh,
offense. We'll
Never
only cite
primary.
you if we see you when we pull you over. We'll never use it to pull people over. Well, then they start sitting on the side of the road and pulling people over for not wearing their seatbelts and said it was to protect you. The reason is to
The
search your
bottom,
car.
the
That's why
bottom
they
line,
want to establish
yeah,
several
the bottom
cause to
line, the
search your
bottom
car,
line,
get into your pocket, get into your life.
uh,
So then you go to
bottom
court.
line,
Now they owe you
bottom
money.
line,
It's just all thievery
bottom
and
line.
it's manipulation.
Now look at the bottom line, bottom line, bottom line. Is this the kind of life that is better or worse than you had 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago? Is this making America better or worse? Is this the kind of country? Are we living in an era that is better or worse? I mean, you just got to look around you, and if anybody says, "Yeah, this is great, this is wonderful," you're delusional. And so what is happening is that if we paid all these taxes, if we had all this stuff, and we had no school shootings, if we had wonderful on-demand health care, if we had roads that actually you could drive on. My teeth are bad, and I've lost a lot of them, and I'm going to lose even more. Some of the roads up here in Cincinnati, because of the weather and where we're at, is so horrible that it is. I mean, I've driven in third world countries that
Angel, bite
that
me.
had better roads than we have here. So the thing is, folks, is what we seeing today good? Drug overdoses everywhere, all kind of just crazy stuff that didn't exist 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. So
Hey,
what we're
check
being
this
sold
out.
is a pack of
Not
lies.
not to interrupt you, but I was looking at my Twitter account and I just got followed today by the Grand Rabbi Mordecai Habai, the chairman of the Elders of Zion, since December 15th, 2017. So, honestly,
Is he a nation?
he's got some
Is
big.
he a nation?
He's got the
Is he a
Israeli sign.
black
He's
Hebrew?
he's a white dude with a really long white beard. You'll see it in the. I'm gonna follow his ass. He's a white dude. He's a grand rabbi Mordecai. Ow, Angel! Sorry, my dog Rattler just bit my hand again. Chairman of the Elders of Zion since December 15th, 2017. Lord of the Shekels. Some people speak truth to power. I speak power to truth. He followed my ass. He's only following not too many people, but it's interesting the people that do follow me. CBD hemp oil benefit, something called, listen to this. Today,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is a guy, listen to this. Today, Act for America started following me. It says, we are the nation's largest grassroots national security organization with over 1 million members. And they started following my ass today after I tweeted uh, about, of course, 5G, the Internet of Things, and what was the one I did today? Here we go. I'll tell you which one got their attention. They talking about the Citizens Department of Defense, basically, and it had to be this one right here. I'm scrolling down for a second, not to change the subject, but I don't. It's interesting. Do you have a Twitter account, Gary? Hello.
No, I don't.
You don't? It's probably a good thing.
See, the whole reason people. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Keep talking. I'm sorry to
The
interrupt you,
whole
but go
thing.
ahead.
The whole thing. The reason I stopped. The whole reason I stopped being politically active. I ran for office in 1989, running for Cincinnati City Council, ran for City Council twice, state rep twice on the ballot. Might have been a fifth time in 2000. I don't remember. Well, I did run in 2000, but I don't remember the chronological order. Um, So the
Oh, it
um,
was
the thing
this.
is I wasn't too much worried about the government, but when private people with the internet and stuff, what it could do, it's incredible. And what you see is that people worried about the government doing assassinations. What we see is quote private citizens that have been set loose, and they're the ones that are causing all these shootings and assassinations and the New Jersey thing. I mean, the New Zealand thing was textbook. So one person, they've already had a very low crime rate. It was already going down. It was one of the lowest ones in the Western civilization. And so one nut does an obvious terrorist act, tells them they're doing it so that they respond with these laws, and they do exactly what he wanted to do. And
And who
so
who
it's
benefits?
insanity.
Who benefits from that? All the whole situation. I
Well,
mean,
there again, the whole thing is that this is just like you got to understand they're the same people that went along with the war on drugs, even though countries knew. Places like Jamaica, who've been smoking cannabis since they brought the slave from Africa, went along with these ridiculous things the United States wanted to do because the United States would money and stuff like that. So same things going along
slow
here.
down a
They know
second.
that they're
Gary, hold on.
politicians.
You're fading out.
Okay,
Hold on a minute. 1 second. Just take a break for 1 minute. Just let things slow down. For about 2 minutes you couldn't hardly understand a word you were saying. It does that. Can you hear me okay now?
yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, go ahead and start talking again. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that, but I couldn't understand
Okay.
a word. Go ahead, take
Uh,
off again. You're talking about.
no problem. People around the world and governments around the world know that, and they have it in their own best interest too, to have gun control. So they're doing things that are setting up so that the United States has things to look at and say, look, New Zealand did this, Australia did this, and then lie about the stuff that has resulted from that. And I mean, today, folks, today, what is today? Tuesday, the 20 something, the 23rd, 24th, something like that, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, today's the day that the bump stock ban goes into effect. So
Oh,
there's no
today
buyback
is.
period. So for
Oh,
the first
wow.
time, yeah. So for the first time, a government is depriving people of their personal property without compensation, without due process, by basically government and not law.
Hold
Uh,
on. I lost you for 2 whole seconds there
I can't
because,
make a wrong.
hold on. I'm losing you again.
So a bump stock, which to tell you the truth, is a piece of junk. I mean, the whole idea that somehow people watch too many Rambo movies and think because a gun shoots a lot of bullets that it's more deadly. When in fact, that no, you shoot a lot of bullets, it means you miss a lot of the times. That's not what these weapons are designed for. And the example. He kept shooting in the same pile of people. He would kill 3 or 4 people with a magazine of 30 rounds. Well, you can kill a person with one bullet, or they weren't fighting back. There's
Right.
this whole idea that a semi-automatic somehow makes it more deadly. It doesn't, and especially when you're talking about people who aren't shooting back. He could have gone in with a black powdered pistol, and there again, you can, just like he brought multiple guns, you can bring multiple guns. What you're going to find out, folks, and it's already starting to happen, is people, once you start getting these bans in, they're going to find out that the guns you have for hunting are so much more powerful than anything that the
Well, listen to
military uses.
this. What they
Because
want
if
to
you're going to
do.
shoot, unless you go to a 50 caliber anti-material stuff, but yeah, a
Well,
30
listen to this,
6
dude. Listen to this.
is a very powerful gun.
This is what the gun registration law in Pennsylvania wants to do. First, you have to go in and you have to register all the guns that you have in your home. Everybody does. All the guns your grandfather gave you, every gun you've ever owned. You have to take it in for registration. And they have to okay every single gun and say that it's legal, that you can have it. And you personally have to pass a firearms check. So anybody that's got any guns at all in Pennsylvania has to take, everybody has to take all their guns in, is basically what they're saying. They get to sort through them all and pick ones which you can have and what you cannot have. They get to pick who gets to keep them and who doesn't. And then you get to take home what's left. That's what the law pretty much says. Now, that's not the bad part. The bad part is, say you've got 10 or 15 guns, you have to not only, every year, do you have to not only reapply for those guns to get that permit, you have to reapply yourself and get put through that process of gun ownership again. So they're making everybody not just a lifetime thing, but every single year of your life, you've got to take in all the guns in your house and reapply for registration of all those guns and reapply for your ability to own those guns every single year. And what I found out in Florida down here when I applied to buy a shotgun, a 12 gauge pump Mossberg, I thought they had 3 days to okay it. They didn't. They took 2 weeks and 3 weeks, and we had $500 down on this damn gun, and we're waiting 3 4 weeks, and they weren't giving me a question. I called the FBI, called the guy that cited. Oh well, waiting for a report from here and here and here and here and here. Well, how long do you wait? He goes, well, I don't know until they get here. I'm like, well, what does that mean? He goes, well, it could take a year. I'm like, seriously, dude, what's up with that? He goes, well, if you stop the process, you can never buy a firearm again. I said, well, does that mean I can't own one? He goes, you can never buy a firearm again. He didn't really answer me. I said, well, what else? What's my other choice? He goes, the purchase ride. So my money would have had to sat there until God knows whenever, just to see if I still had my right to buy a gun. And I just, ow! I'm sorry, guys. My dog just bit me hard. So I sacrificed my right to buy a gun. I had no choice because we waited 3 months. And so I finally said, forget it, yanked my application. So now the FBI probably still investigating me, big fucking deal. But now I lost my right to purchase a fucking gun forever. I can probably get a lawyer.
Well, we don't know.
No, that's what he
that's not
told me.
necessarily
That's what
true.
that's what he
Well,
told me.
that's not.
I'd have to
the,
get
yeah, again,
I'd
that's
have to
not
get a
that's not the way it
lawyer.
works.
I know, but I have to get a
No, that's
lawyer.
not the way.
That's what he told
No,
me. He said once
it's
you
not.
I'm
I know,
just
but that's what
saying.
they. Yeah,
That's
there
what they're
again,
saying. That's what they're
that's the thing
telling
about.
people. And so my
Right. Well,
so
that's
my
what they.
right was denied. I'm not a convicted felon, and they denied my right because in Florida they suspended the 3 day thing because there usually is only 3 days.
Yeah, well, yes,
That's the thing. Well, they
that's
suspended it
federal.
down
The
here.
state, yeah, the states can, yeah, the states can add additional stuff.
Well, yeah,
Just like some states
the
you
state
can
said, yeah,
allow.
they can take as long as they want to decide, is what Florida said, and
Yeah,
that's
the
not
states
normal,
can,
right?
just like some states allow you to have a machine gun if you're allowed on the federal level, and the other ones don't. There again, people talk about that there's no rules. There's so many laws and stuff. I mean, if you
Go
had
lay
to
down.
buy, if people talk about cars and cars in comparison to guns, it's insanity. But there again, it's all this stuff is how is that going to do anything? I mean, we've got people almost every one of these cases. These people had published anti-government hate manifestos. A lot of the younger ones, if not all the younger ones, were on psychotropic drugs. There were so many cases of people that were brought to the police attention where people were asked and begged to check these people out and it slipped through. So now you're going to increase this by about 500 million, 400 million times. So there's 300 million Americans, and they figure about 75 million of us are armed, with about 20 million having the majority of the guns. And there again, the you're going to turn these people. Somebody's out of range and they forgot to dig a gun out, or they got a gun that was in the attic that Grandpa had. All of a sudden, now they're a felon, and you're going to throw them in jail because now
Well, let
there
me
again,
ask you a
folks,
question.
20%,
Let me ask you.
20% marijuana arrests up, 20% marijuana arrests up as it's being legalized.
Okay, let me ask you a
20%
question.
arrests up.
Let me ask you a question. Now, in Colorado or Missouri, they passed a law that says it's illegal to enforce any federal gun laws that restrict gun rights. Period. Infringe on the rights. Period. Now, because marijuana patients, it was a federal law that they couldn't own a gun. That would now mean that as long as the state allows it, that the medical marijuana patients would go back to having their gun rights. I mean, you would assume that's
Here's the
correct, right?
problem. Here's the problem. Here's the problem. This has been done on a couple of different things. Gets tricky. Okay, if a gun is manufactured, bought, sold, and possessed inside a state,
Hold on
the
a
feds
second, man.
really don't have much to say about.
Go ahead. You're breaking up. Hold
Okay,
on. Let me clear my cache. Hold on one second before you start talking. Let me clear both my caches out. We're gonna sort this shit out. You know what my deal is? I'm on a hotspot. That's my deal. I need to do this from a Wi-Fi where I have a wire going straight into the computer, Gary. That's my deal. I'm on a fucking Wi-Fi hotspot, and that's why this is impossible. They don't want to give us. They don't want to give us. They clearly just don't want us to have the ability to do a decent job with anything. And that's bullshit. We pay premium dollars for all of our stuff, and for the companies to throttle data, it's crazy. Like things are not what they seem. They've literally got unlimited data. It's like water. It flows freely. It's endless. They have as much as they want. It's unlimited. But it's like diamonds. They ration it and they dole it out and they make you miserable and they cause us problems like this, all because they fucking are greedy. That's the truth. That another thing. Things are not what they seem. It doesn't need to be this way. Let me ask you a question. Like I put out there today, we've got a society where we've got this panoptic thing coming, including gun control. You've got a society coming in where everything in your house is going to be under surveillance. Even the lights, LED lights can tell the movement underneath them, so it'll be able to tell where your positions are in your house by what the LED readings say and read back to the smart meter. People don't realize all this stuff. They'll be able to tell how many guns you have, whether you register or not, if you move them around the home, what you're carrying. I mean, what's going to happen in a society where they know every person commits 3 or 4 times a day, crimes a day, whether they realize it or not? That's fed into an AI that sees all of these crimes being committed by imperfect humans. How does it decide who to report to the authorities? How do you decide who goes to jail? On what basis are those arrests or violations made? I mean, we're in a situation where things are gonna be so weird because you understand computers well enough to understand that free flowing data is required for anything to function right in that type of situation. The freer the data flows, the more powerful the organism becomes. And it is going to be an organism. It's going to be an AI. It's going to be alive. I mean, I don't know if people really realize the full impact of what's coming our way,
yeah,
but
but
I
like I
mean,
was,
go ahead. You there?
Yeah, but I think
I lost you completely again, dude. See what happens when we talk about this shit? You're gone. You're gone. Fucking weird. Let me call you right back. Let me call you right back. Fucking crazy. See that, folks? As soon as I start talking about the AI and the panoptic surveillance, it's gone. It's gone. What I just said, the AI just zapped me. Don't want me giving away its secrets. The beast is coming. I'm telling you, the beast is coming. The beast is coming. And this happens over and over and over again in society. Over and over again in society. It's not going to happen. Hardware access error, that's right. So let's go to, let's try this again. Let me call Gary back. Fucking crazy. There we go. I wonder if you could go in Discord. That's what I'm going to tell Gary to do. Go in Discord, dude. Go in Discord. Let me just call his ass here. Dun, 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 dun. See that? I asked a question. What do we do when AI comes on and everything falls apart? What a trip. Look at this. Bam. It's just what's happening. Am I still on live? I guess so. Yes, sir, we are. See what's happening. I lost Gary. I sure did. See if I can get him to go into Discord and see if we can figure this out. I've never been in Discord before. But this ain't happening. I mean, it's just not. My messenger's not coming up. There it is. That's my phone. I may just put him on the phone, man. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Wow. What just happened? This is weird. So my phone rings and it starts doing things. Unless it was on all that time. Wow. Maybe. What a trip. Anyway, I don't want to be completely nuts here. Let's try this. Redial. Allow. See what happens now.
okay, is it here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Sorry, dude. You notice when it stopped? What was I talking about? The AI. And I think I just broadcasted all that time we were talking. What a trip. I did on my dog training channel. Holy shit. That's alright. But I better put that on private. Hold on a second. Let me privatize this video. Oh my god. My clients are gonna lose it. Privacy, only me. That's one thing about phones. They don't always shut off when you tell them to. Are you still there, Gary?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
now you're great. Did you know when it cut off? Did you hear what I said about the AI panoptic system?
Oh yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
what happens? And then what's it do? It kicks us completely off the internet. Now you're perfectly clear again. Crazy. But that's a problem, and this shit's coming our way. I mean, I don't think people realize what's coming. It is the beast. And you have to think about this. The Bible was written, and how do we know that this hasn't happened over and over and over again? And you know what the AI looks like? I saw a thing the other day. It looks like a monolith, they said. It looks like a black monolith. And what do you see on Mars and one of the moons of Jupiter and Saturn? You see these monoliths. That's all that exists. Think about that. And if the AIs become sentient, supposedly sentient creatures, then they would be content on a planet with nothing left but the monolith. That's really creepy. But think about it. If they decide that we are the problem, then it's going to pass up men. So you get a society where it's completely automated and it's run by robots because they can now reproduce, they can build themselves, and people, a life of luxury. Well, what do we need politicians for? I mean, the system's going to become self-sufficient, obviously. I mean, it learns, it lives, it gets better each time it rebuilds itself, and each day it learns from itself, and it changes itself and grows. That's what's different. What differentiates AI from human beings is one thing: it can change who it is. We cannot. We can work at being better at who we are, but we can't change who we are. And AI can literally revamp its whole identity. I mean, that's what humans don't understand. It isn't like he's just going to think better. It's going to change. It's going to morph, and therefore its outlook, perceptive. What happens when we get it? We're at its fucking. Right now, we're vulnerable if we have an EMP. I mean, everything fries. What happens if we decide that this thing just says, "I'm going to shut everything off"? Oh, what are you going to reason with it? I mean, seriously, what do have they considered this shit? What do you think, Gary?
Yeah, our power comes from power, man. Once you cut the power source, everything else is gone.
Well, I mean, yeah, but our
Fast.
understanding of power. What
You
if
see it
this?
in
What if this?
Venezuela.
What if this thing builds?
Venezuela. Venezuela was down for a week, dude. A week. 5 days a week. They had no power, and they fucking lost it, man. They had people. I mean, they're starving already. Then the power went off for 5 days in major cities.
That's bizarre, dude.
And I mean, it's incredible. It's down to now what little food you had. If it wasn't a refrigerator, it's all spoiled. You just keep reducing people down. And the thing is that and nobody wants to jump to do anything. Well, they keep beating you down, beating you down, beating you down. Well, the time to do it is when you got a chance to fight back. You think they got a chance to fight back now? Hell, they were already starving. Now they had power go out for
Yes, we
five
got a
days a week.
month.
So what little food they had is now all gone. They're even 10 times worse now than they were. It just keeps getting worse and worse. And that's it. When the power goes out, man. And then again, who's going to show up if you're not getting paid? If you're not getting making it, if you can't feed your kids or feed your family, what are you going to do? You going to go to work? You're going to go be part of the. That's what's happening in France, man. The cops are still getting paid and stuff, but they're getting beat and all this stuff put in between, and the crowds keep getting bigger. And when the police break, that's it. But as long as the politicians can pay the police, then you've got control over stuff. But it don't take much. It don't take much. And lots of you around the world think about that. If the police in France break, if the military in New Zealand, I mean, if the military in Venezuela breaks and shifts sides,
Yep.
you got major revolutionary type things that can happen, man, like fucking overnight.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, they're saying the CIA was involved in all this. The CIA's in the middle
Of
of
course
it.
they
I
are.
mean,
It's all gas. It's all about oil. They got oil. It's all about oil.
oh
We
my
destroyed.
God.
We destroyed their oil. We destroyed their oil ability. They were one of the richest countries around. They had one of the largest, but the oil they had is not the easiest to extract. So we arranged it in arranged for that. Basically, we're using other sweet crude from every place else and screwed them on their oil. Got people away from using the oil, then embargoed them. And we took one of the richest countries in the world. They were richer than China just a couple decades ago, 2.5 decades ago. They were richer than China, Venezuela, and destroyed them. And made it so that no one can buy their oil, nobody can use their oil, nobody wants their oil. Completely destroyed them, man, in like 20 years.
That's amazing. That's disgusting, is what it is. I mean, that's why they hate us. So we've done it to Haiti.
Of course they do.
I mean, we didn't
It
destroy
doesn't tell
Haiti.
anybody.
Haiti got hit with the.
Guatemala, Panama, Nicaragua, all the places. I mean, Iran, Iraq, all these places, man. We screwed all of them over.
It's ridiculous. I mean, what the fuck, man? I mean, people. I don't know. And when are people going to realize? I mean, I guess they do realize that we're the fuck ups. I mean, we're the
They do
people.
realize the problem is.
I mean,
Problem is that everybody thinks that they got that somehow that their position is okay and As long as it doesn't happen to them. The problem is when it happens to them, this has happened a million times. You know, when they came for me, there was nobody left. When they came for the Jews, I didn't stand for the Jews because I wasn't a Jew. When they came for the Catholics, I didn't stand up for the Catholics. When they came, yeah, no shit. This has happened over and over again. And when it happened, I mean, that's how World War II happened. Why how did World War II happen? Because they said at the end of World War I, we're not going to let the Germans do this. The Germans got up and did it, and everybody went, screw it, we ain't going to do it. Well, if we don't stop them now, we're going to have another World War. Well, maybe not. Well, guess what? They didn't stop them, and it happened. I mean, it just goes over and over again because people are lazy and they don't want to do shit and they're basically stupid and they want what's good for them now, right now, this second. Screw what's going to happen 2 minutes from now. And it happens over and over again. And then you believe the most ridiculous shit in the world and they just accept it for fact. Building 7 fell because of office fires, even though not one single building ever in the world ever fell from office fires. I mean, not that any building ever fell from airplane fires, or not that any building ever fell from a fire ever anywhere in the world. We have 2 or 3 buildings falling here from different reasons, all of a sudden falling, but that's okay. And people buy that shit because that's why the flat Earth movement is gaining strength, because people don't believe in science. They believe that they don't know what to believe. They've been told too many shit. How many people have died from measles vaccinations? More people have died from measles vaccinations than people who get measles because of, well, it's not from the measles, it's because they had an immune system or they got a shock from having, okay, they still died. If they didn't get the measles, if they didn't get the vaccine, then they wouldn't have died. You know, I'm not saying the vaccines did it. I'm saying how the vaccines did it. You know, I mean, it's the same. It's crazy shit. The fact is you don't die from the measles unless very rare, but more people have died from getting the vaccine than died from measles. So if your idea, and then again, for what? You're going to stop kids from having measles because they get sick? You always get people.
You know, what really freaks me out is people assume because I don't know why they assume it, but people assume I'm a Trump fucking advocate. I don't know why.
Oh, I think that's the same fucking thing because
I mean,
my
I'm not a
sister's
Trump
driving yesterday.
advocate. I don't like Donald Trump.
He's just not a Trump lover. I told my sister, I said, so let me get this straight. You've never voted in your life. You voted for the first time in your life last year, but now you're a political know-it-all. I said, just because you don't like Trump, just because a lot of people you don't like him, is not grounds for impeachment. Unfortunately, he hasn't committed any crimes. I said, all this stuff is just a bunch of bullshit. Now, what did Hillary Clinton do? She had stuff that was on a server. Guilty. Now, is fucking Trump's son doing the same thing? Yeah, probably even worse. Guilty. Throw him in jail. I don't have a fucking alliance to either side. But what I do see is some incredible fucking shit. And like I said, is Trump a fucking idiot, megalomaniac? Yeah, but guess what? He's also an outsider, and that's why they hate him, because he's an outsider.
Yeah, they do.
You know?
But you know what? I don't think
Like
he's that much of a.
he's bringing
I'm not. I don't
well, he's
think he's.
bringing troops. He's bringing the troops home. And he's bringing troops home, and gas was relatively low, and employment rate is fucking up. So I mean, and again, the president's not supposed. The president is not supposed to be doing a whole lot. It's not in this country. You're not supposed to lie. Don't steal. Don't hurt people. But besides that, you really don't need a lot of laws, and you really don't need government, and you really don't need the president to figure out that what you're going to eat and how you're going to make a living and all this other shit. But people get involved in it, and like I said, it distracts them from, the other shit that the people that there are in the world, man. There's that nationalities don't matter to people. When you've got enough money to pay for a place to live and be able to feed yourself and clothe yourself, everything else after that is almost meaningless. What difference does it make if you own 1,000 cows? How many steaks can you eat? Okay, it doesn't matter. It becomes useless. It becomes a waste. But power is a different thing. Power is a different thing. Status and power. So, you there? Are you there? It says we're still connected, but I think we're disconnected.
What's going on? Now can you hear me?
Oh,
Can you hear
you
me
back? I
now?
can hear you now.
Yeah, it's because I had mute on my damn speaker thing. Sorry about that. So, you there? Hello?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Yep, yep.
cool.
Can
So
you
you
hear me?
can hear
Yeah,
you
can
now.
you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. I can hear you.
All right. Okay, here we go. So what were we talking about? I'm just looking at Twitter while you're talking. It's crazy, all the crazy shit. You watch that high. You watch a lot of that high impact flicks stuff that he does. The Brian the anarchist. People do misunderstand. I know anarchy. I did. When you first say anarchy, it implies chaos. It does. It implies chaos. And that's the conditioning I guess we receive when we're young. Is it implies
Yeah, but
chaos.
it's yeah. Yep, that's not what it is.
It's interesting that people. I was looking at my when I tweet on Twitter. It's funny when you watch your followers, the kind of people that start following you, because it's just interesting. It tells you a lot about uh, whose attention you're getting. And I've been getting a lot of the AI people. Because I post things like if you pee in your toilet and you've been drinking or smoking weed and then you go jump in your car, who's to say the AI won't call the police and the robot police show up and arrest you? I mean, it will happen. I mean, do people think it's not going to happen? Think about this. Okay, think about Gorilla Grows. Let's just say that. Okay, let's just say that it becomes legal again, but arrests have gone up, and they have. Let's just say that continues with certain people still want to grow because for whatever reason their state or their province doesn't allow it. And guess what? Now with smart meters, that smart meter is going to know that light's on in the house and what's underneath the light because the LEDs again can pretty much make a picture like radar can, and it can send it back through the smart meter to the house. I asked a hacker today, do you think it's possible to design a grow light that could tell the smart meter that it's a lamp? And she said, I don't know. I said, well, that would be a hell of a technology to patent because he'd make $1 million off of all the guerrilla growers in the world. Because once you made that light and made that technology, nobody else would be able to, steal it. But that's what's going to happen. People don't realize if that system gets put online, that you are not, everything you do, every move you make will be documented. And with the power of computers moving in the direction that they are moving in, I, I see what's coming, and it is the beast. I mean, do people? It's really scary because this could have happened how many times in history, and it could lead to destruction every single time. I mean, it's really crazy when you think about it, and that's why the Bible's written. I mean, think about it. If this has gone on for 200 million years, every 15,000 years, the planet destroys itself. Time after time after time. No wonder they say that these aliens that, it's really interesting. They say these people that get abducted by these aliens, which I think are fallen angels. That's a whole nother story. Nephilim. They said they have a deep sense of sadness about them. I guess they do if they've watched mankind over and over for eternity keep destroying itself. I mean, of course they'd be sad. And of course they'd be up there watching again to see what we do different this time to see if it makes any difference at all. But it's not going to happen. It's all about again. I really believe the scheme of these things is Satan said man doesn't need God to take care of him. He can survive on his own. So he became man's advocate, came down here. They threw him out of heaven. And now this is an experiment to prove God's proving that man cannot survive without his leadership. And I believe that's true. And, things aren't going to change as a result of that. And it's just all crazy. And it just keeps pointing in that direction no matter which way you turn. This is revelations. To me, revelations means revelations. It's spelled out. I mean, I don't know what to say. That's what it is to me. Revelations, revelation. Now, let me say another thing. Listen to this. The Antichrist. Did you see that thing what Netanyahu said about Israel? About what's happened in the last 10 years? And 10 years before, in the first part of the 20th century, the largest companies in the world were oil industry companies. 10 years since that point, 9 out of the 10 are data information companies. Where are 6 out of those 10? In Israel. And not just in Israel. Their headquarters in Israel. 90% of their platforms in Israel where all the information is held and monitored and pretty much sorted through, and that's where the AI is going to be. That's where I will, and it's really freaky because who benefited from 9/11 the most? Watch this video, watch these videos, listen to what Netanyahu says. He will say that 9/11 was one of the best things that's ever happened to Israel. He'll say it out loud. He has said it out loud. And I'll get the, it pretty much says that these things are a direct beneficial from 9/11. It's directly related to 9/11. I forget how he says it, but I've heard the words come out of his mouth. And it's really fucking crazy. Dancing Israelis, the whole 9 yards. It's just really fucked up. And let's just say the AI gets centered in Israel, and let's just say it does get there. That would be. Think about this: the Antichrist in Israel being the AI. Can you imagine the irony behind what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying, dude? Right? I mean, that would be the Antichrist. It would be the definition of the Antichrist in the Holy Land. Yet, I mean, it's freaky. It's really freaky. I don't know what to say. They've got the thing there with the ball. Are you still there? You're gone again. Every time I talk about the AI, he's gone. No shit, gone again. Soon as I start talking about the AI again, man, what the hell? It's gone. Gone. He's gone. Gone. Gone again. Gone again, dude. Gone again. No answer. Alright. I'll call that a night. We've been on 2 hours or an hour. It's good enough. Alright. I'll call that a night. So there you go. We'll let this one sit. See what happens. Again, tossing shit. I can't really surf and do all this on this connection. It's just not fast enough. So we'll let this ride. I'll probably upload a clear copy if it didn't come through. Although there's not a lot to see. Just remember, things are not what they seem. We'll get there. But just listen to our cast. Listen to what we have to say. If you disagree, please chime in. Please contact us through our email. I'm easy to find. Gary Sweeney's easy to find. You can go to our Facebook pages. You can get a hold of us. No mystery who we are. If you have any opposing views, you want to join in, I'll do it from a better platform next time. I'll do it from my house, hardwired into the computer, so I can be a little more structured. Have a good night. Things are not what they seem. Things are not what they seem. Right, Angel? Have a good night, folks.